All right. Hello. Test, test. Hello. Cool. Welcome to the first week recap for the Phalanx division. Um, we're going to be getting right into it. And we got a lot of really good matchups this week. In the draft analysis, the draft overview, I was kind of talking a lot about how I think the teams here are very, very balanced and that there's going to be a lot of good matchups, and I was right. So I'm looking forward to this a lot. And yeah, let's get right into it. I'm going to be starting out with my matchup. I'm going to be making a video on from my perspective. My recording, the audio cut out, unfortunately, so I'm gonna have to try and make do. But we we went into this knowing that Trippy was planning on making an Oko team, or team that focused on just using Oko moves as much as possible. So I had to be prepared for that, but also be prepared for kind of his normal strategy. So, um, yeah, I went in thinking just play smart. He's probably gonna go for them. If he doesn't, that's okay. Just play solidly, pretty much. Um, so I went Grimmsnarl and Urshifu. Urshifu was just a very strong Pokemon. I thought he could do a lot of damage to at least one of his Mons. So I fake out Kyogre and just get a close combat out on Kyurem, and I think it's gonna kill, but he's extremely bulky, so does not kill. He gets a sheer cold off, which misses, and then the Kyogre's obviously flinched. But I'm able to Thunder Wave Kyogre, pick up the kill on Kyurem, and Kyogre is able to get off another sheer cold, which does not connect, I believe. Yep. So I think it's a pretty decent start. I can get a nice kill on Garganacl here unless he Terras, but I'm going to go for it anyways, even if he does Terra. Switch out into Miraidon, but he does Terra, so no kill, but I get some damage off. Curious to see what Garganacl goes for, while Kyogre's probably going to Sheer Cold again, which he unfortunately does hit. So Urshifu dies. In a little bit of a worse spot now, but Fisher misses, thankfully, so Miraidon gets a pretty much free switch in. And then Grimmsnarl comes out. He's able to fake out the Garganacl while I get a nice Oko here on Kyogre, who's already paralyzed. And because Garganacl's Terra Water, he will be able to die in one hit to Miraidon, which is very nice, while I attack. Actually, I don't attack, sorry. I go for Substitute here because I thought that Oko moves were blocked by I still had an attack roll on Substitute, but to me it looks like they just break Substitute guaranteed. Because otherwise he would have had to hit that 30% chance. And then, as you'll see, I go for Substitute here again, and he'll have to hit the 30% chance again to break it. So I think it's just a guaranteed break on Substitute. I wasn't super familiar with how that worked. Thankfully, he just misses two fissures back to back, so I'm able to survive. And then I get the kill on Garganacl that I was talking about earlier, while Terra Fighting secures that Oko on Tinglu with Sneasler. So, pretty good game one. I got a little lucky, I think, with the Oko moves, but generally, I mean, they're Oko moves. What do you expect? You can't really you can't expect them to be too accurate. 30% chance is pretty rough, so if he had hit all of them, I'd be in a much worse spot. I could have lost the game pretty easily, but he didn't. So, yeah, I'll take that game one. In game two, I'm 100% convinced he's going for a Oko strategy at this point. So I reflect that by just leading Miraidon Urshifu, or catching fire, sorry, off start, and I'm going to set up the double dragon cheer strategy to guarantee both of my Pokemon always crit. And he'll probably just miss both his Oko moves, both his sheer colds. So I'm in a great spot. Right? I set up, Except he doesn't do that. He adapts, and he kills Miraidon pretty easily here with a double up, and Gouging Fire's at 12%. So I severely misplayed that. I underestimated him, and I thought he would just go for the same strategy, and he didn't, and that bit me. So I was going for Surging Strikes into the Kyogre, who was Terra Ground, but he instead sacked Skarganackle, who's also weak to water. So that's a pretty easy kill for Shifu, thankfully. And I am positive that this will be an Oko on the Kyurem. It's Stab. I have a guaranteed crit, and my Gouging Fire is extremely strong. And yet, it lives again. So this Kyurem is extremely physically bulky, which is I should have expected. Another example of bulk here with this Ting-Lu, I thought that would be a kill for sure, but not only is he bulk, he also has Citrus Berry. So he lives with a little left, and he's able to get off a double knockout, except he misses, unfortunately, on the Gouging Fire. If he had hit that, it might have been a different game, but I don't think so anyways, because you'll see what happens here. I go for a Fake Out on Kyogre, which doesn't really affect anything, actually, because it was probably within an Oko range if I Terra'd, and he picks up a kill on Gouging Fire. So now it's a 2v1 for Sneasler. I do Terra Fighting here just to guarantee that kill on Kyogre. It was a guaranteed kill from full health, even if he was very physically bulky, I believe. So I think the game was secured either way, but the Ruination miss is a little brutal. Wouldn't affect anything, but just rub salt in the wound that he missed a lot of Oko moves. So I'm able to secure the win there, but I played sloppily game 2. Not super proud of that game 2, but win's a win. So game 1 went well. Game 2 was still a win. So I think I'm fine with that start to the season. And yeah, Trippy, I want to say he played well, but it's hard to play well with an entirely luck-based strategy. Game 2, he did play very well, especially switching up the strategy. If he had just gone for Oko moves again, I would have been a very easy win for me. So he made it a very, very close match. You can see I have 1 mon left at 60. So, yeah, thank you for Trippy for the match. And let's move on to our second matchup, which was... sorry, who's this? It is Nick versus Eternum. So, yeah, let's get started. Both interesting, scary teams. Nick going for very, very clearly a rain mode here, and I'm expecting kind of just size spam from Eternum. He has a good team though. I don't know what a Paladon could possibly be adding to this. But otherwise, Fake Out into Psychic Terrain is rough, and Expanding Force doesn't even pick up the kill, so... Okay, Bulldoze slows him down, that's good. Tornadus could maybe make something happen here. Okay, misses Bleak Wind Storm on 1, and connects, but gets almost no damage off, so... That's not a great turn 1 for either. Tinkaton gets a great kill here, because Zamazenta can't do anything, because he just switched in, and now his speed's already lowered. So that was a pretty good turn 2 for Nick, but he still does get outsped, and the switch out means that Palkia is almost guaranteed to just die here. Yeah, and he gets crit, Salt in the Wound. I think he would have died for sure either way. But yeah, he would have died for that body press, so he just wanted to preserve Tinkaton, I guess. Interesting choice. I'm not sure if Palkia or Tinkaton would be more valuable, but we'll see. And Psychic Terrain is gone, thankfully. That definitely does help Nick, especially with that Expanding Force doing almost no damage there. Here Starstorm gets a lot of damage, but it gets a good amount of damage, but it's just not enough. I mean, you expect more, and you want more, because without that, you're really still taking a lot of damage. And I don't think that was the play. I think... Oh, never mind. He dies anyways. Okay, I thought... It would be better just to double into the Zamazenta there, but it's okay. Looks like a pretty clean. Oh wow, the Terra makes it not nearly as clean of a win. I thought that was just a win on the spot, but I guess not. He does predict the Terra, or just goes for that move anyways, but still, it's not enough to kill, and that's really unfortunate for Nick. If that was an Oko, which, I mean, if you're Tinkaton, you're fairly strong, versus a Mon with very, very bad defenses, you want that to be an Oko. Super effective move. So, the fact that, or if not an Oko, you want it to do a significant chunk of damage. Seeing it only do 69% is really not ideal for Nick heading into game 2. Unfortunate. I think he had he'd already Terra Stellar, so it wouldn't have mattered. But that's one of those losses that feels bad, because it feels like you were so close. I think he did play well throughout, but still, it's a little tough. Let's move on to game 2. Curious to see how he switches it up. He switches up immediately with Pelipper Palkia. Wow, it's a good start. And to Powdon. Wow, Powdon is significantly slower than Pelipper, so he will pick the weather, which is really bad for Nick. That's a little bit of a rough start, but Tailwind could still come out here. Switch could happen. No switch. And Protect on Palkia. Made him waste his Terra, which is huge here, especially if he goes into Palkia, which he probably would, and he does. And Pelipper does get off the Tailwind for free. It's just great turn 1 for Nick, actually, even though he doesn't win his Weather War. Switching to Tornadus is fine, but what does Palkia do here? Probably just gets body pressed, right? Icy Wind, okay, interesting. You already do have Tailwind, so you outspeed, so I don't think that's the play. Ooh, and you just get Oko'd. I think getting some damage off onto Zamazenta is huge, because it's really hard to Oko him. You have to get some damage off first, especially when he's Terra Water and you're a rain team. So you don't really have as many electric type attacks. I think that's really, really rough for Nick. You get another speed drop on Zamazenta, but again, you have Tailwind up, so it doesn't matter as much. Zamazenta doing almost nothing here. I wonder if he's not, what move he has instead of Behemoth Bash, or if he's just not using it for some reason. And Pelipper does live, which is huge. Zamazenta protects, but he's probably just going for another Bleak Wind, so this should now oh, it does not. Wow, it's really not a whole lot of damage. And Stone Edge just does no damage again. It is a Hippowdon, so you can't expect too much damage out of it, but a Bleak Wind picks up a double, and Pelipper, please go for Tailwind here. There we go, perfect. Now it's a 3v2. You are in a pretty rough spot damage-wise. Thankfully, you do have ×2 on both for Tornadus. Only problem is Sucker Punch, so I don't know what he's going to do to go around. Oh, there is just no Sucker Punch. Perfect. Wow, this is actually much better for Nick, and he doesn't even attack into the Protect. This should be a guaranteed win for Nick now. You have Tailwind up, so you got guaranteed outspeed, and yeah, you just pick up a kill with Pelipper. Very well played in that end game. No Sucker on Shenpao was crazy. That would have been a kill into Tornadus, guaranteed. And then Pelipper is able to get Shenpao down to Sash, and whoever's in the back has to clean up. You have Tailwind up, so I think you can win either way, but still, it's kind of a rough spot to be in. It would be a much closer game. Also, I want to shout out Eternum for having the best nickname. Don't abbreviate on Shenpao. Pretty good name. All right, let's move on to game 3 and see what happens. I have watched all of these already, but I don't remember most of them. So, and I certainly don't remember this one. So, let's see. Interesting leads from both. Neither of them have led to anything really similar in the past. A fake out to break multi-scale is kind of nice, if he is in fact multi-scale. Body press doesn't Oko. You wouldn't expect it to Oko, but it's just nice. Then Tailwind comes out, and you know that you're faster than Dragonite. I don't know if he's invested in speed or not, but either way, that's good to know. Bulldoze is, wow, that was a rough move there. You just lowered your own speed. Oh no, you have weakness policy. I forgot about that. But still, it's an interesting strategy. I don't know what he was really going for there. And now that your opponent has Tailwind, you just get outsped and die. So that was That was a questionable move. I know that you want to activate the weakness policy to just get more damage out, but and you obviously didn't expect the protect, but still, it just feels like you're sacrificing too much there. I don't think that's a wise switch out because now you just eat a strong attack. Tinkerton should just die. He's at 3%. I guess it doesn't matter now because you weren't attacked into, but still. Trapagos is kind of a sitting duck with Zamazenta on the field and body press because you can tear a stellar, but it doesn't. You still take super effective. You obviously have Terra Shell to make you resist it the first turn, but afterwards, you don't. So Terra Shell there might have made a lot of sense too because you would be able to break Chenpao Sash guaranteed. And now Terapagos, again, if you had Terra Stellar here, then you'd be in so much better of a spot. Chenpao would be dead. It would be a 2v1 of Zamazenta versus Tinkaton and Terapagos. Because with Terra Stellar, you get some damage off on Zamazenta and Chenpao, Keely. And then once Zamazenta protects, Chenpao just dies. And then Tinkaton and Terapagos are able to clean up Zamazenta because Zamazenta doesn't have any spread moves. He's able to OHKO them both, right? But there's no way he lives a play rough. I mean, he might live a play rough, but he doesn't live a Terra Starstorm for sure. He does outspeed them both, so it comes down to whether or not Tinkaton can OHKO with a play rough. But I think he can, especially he would have taken because he would have taken a little bit more damage. Yeah, Terra Starstorm would have been super effective because he had terrestrialized, and Terra. That would have been better. Oh, Terrifier was already wasted on Torn. You're right. Turnham. Good call. That makes the Bulldoze play even worse, honestly, because you wasted a Terra just to do what 40% and then to die, and now it looks like a very kind of guaranteed endgame for a Turnham. Fake out into the Monty protects. Fake out into Zamazenta would have been huge there because he can guarantee OHKO Terapagos. So I think that would have made sense even if you didn't know he was protecting. So either way, it would have been a loss for Nick, but that Terrifier Bulldoze play really kind of lost that game on the spot, in my opinion. The Terra Stellar would have, I think, guaranteed the win, or would have made the win much easier for Nick at least. He would have been playing with a winning hand, but all of a sudden you're on the back foot. You set yourself up to be slower, to not be able to outspeed that Dragonite, which you would have outsped normally. And you probably would have got more damage off too. Either way, it was a little bit rough, that Bulldoze. But live and learn, you know. In the future, I would suggest not trying. I want to say like not trying as unique of a strategy, but that's not quite right. I think not forcing a strategy, I guess. I've done this before where I come up with a cool strategy and I really want to use it, and I, sacrifice too much for that, and it backfires. So I think learning not to do that. You kind of need to go through something like this to understand, okay, maybe I don't go for that unique of a strategy. Or I don't, terrestrialize just for the weakness policy to activate just to get a little more damage off. Or hope for the damage to come off, because then a protect happens and then your whole plan's wasted. So, yeah, that's just something to take away from this. I do think I didn't realize this now, but they did have a tournament did have a third Mon alive in the back. So even if you hadn't terrestrialized and you had been in this situation still, let's say you get the double knockout by losing one, then you probably only have Tinkaton left at 3% versus whoever who will outspeed anyways. And unless it's like Hippowdon, but there's no way he'd bring Hippowdon as the last. So it's either Mewtwo or Indeedee outspeeds Tinkaton, probably Mewtwo, and probably It almost definitely outspeeds Take a Ton, so you just lose on the spot. Anyways, so I don't think the bulldoze was as bad in the sense of, if we go back, I don't want to keep talking about it too much, but we're back in this situation, right? We go for the bulldoze, which only hits your partner. It does crit, which is even more salt in the wound, and protect, obviously. And then we're in this situation right now, right? If we stop here, Nick is already playing on the back foot because he did get that protect off, and now there's Tailwind, and now he's slower. So even if once we're here, he had the Stellar left to use and hit both, I don't think it would have mattered as much because Mewtwo is still alive. So yeah. Anyways, time to move on to our third matchup, which is OK versus TBL. Alright, let's see. Roaring Mood Lunala lead. Interesting. Into Frigoraph and Ursaluna. So it's a pretty good start for Nick, OK, I would say, because you get a free Dark type attack into Frigoraph or Mewtwo, and that works too. Does Lunala go for Trick Room here to try and counter his Trick Room? That would probably make sense. Or Meteor Beam makes sense too. It misses. Wow. That 10% miss is brutal. Yeah, so Trick Room would have been the play here, I guess, to counter his Trick Room. But you also have a Torkoal who gets off an Eruption for free, and that's a powerful Eruption. So Ursaluna goes down. Oh, Ursaluna doesn't go down, sorry. Frigoraph goes down. Then Torkoal goes down to Ursaluna. Then Ursaluna goes down to Lunala. That was a crazy turn. That was very well played by OK, though, honestly. The 2-for-1 trade was well worth it. You get off that big attack. Even though you're still in Trick Room and you got rid of your best Trick Room on, you're in a much better spot. Overall, Brute Bonnet's going to be able to put probably Indeedee to sleep here. Or Lunala. Lunala makes more sense, but okay. I was thinking Indeedee would follow me, but Helping Hand, just for the sleep, is a little rough. And TBL is suddenly kind of in a good spot, but he doesn't go for Spore. Oh, okay. He just wants to kill it. That makes sense. I would have probably gone for a Spore into the Indeedee, just to first of all see if it's safety goggles, which is pretty common, and then you can attack Lunala while both of your partners are sleeping. But oh wow, that is no damage at all. Thankfully, Necrozma was able to kill Roaring Moon, but Brute Bonnet just dealing pitiful damage with Seed Bomb there. 12%. It's 2 leftovers away from full HP. Sucker Punch. Okay. I mean, he does have Shadow Shield, but still, that's a little rough. Brute Bonnet dies instantly. He goes for Sucker Punch in Psychic Terrain. I mean, live and learn, but still not great. And all of a sudden, OK's in a great spot to win. Oh my gosh. Now that they're out of Trick Room, he outspeeds and is able to pick up the 2 kills with Lunala. Lunala's on fire this game. Wow. That was a real difference maker. I think Lunala, the Shadow Shield was nice, because Brute Bonnet did look literally 12% with the Shadow Shield. Meteor Beam miss was a little rough, but more than made up for it. I think the Torkoal play was great. Very well played by OK. And if you're TBL, you feel like kind of dumbfounded because you felt like you were winning up until really this point. After this turn, you get the kill and then all is still asleep. So it's now a 2v2, but you have Photosynthesis defense up. Lunala's still asleep. You can guarantee to Oko Roaring Moon in one turn, right? You think you're in a great spot, and then all of a sudden, you only do 12%. Again, Shadow Shield, but still 12% is not great. And then even though you get the Oko, Lunala not only wakes up next turn, but gets the Oko. So if Trick Room was alive for one more turn, maybe, but it's just a little bit rough of an end game there for TBL. Feels like he played well, but it's kind of not much you could do, I guess. Very well played by OK there. Looking forward to game 2 as well. Okay, protect into the fake out is very nice, and Trick Room to counter his Trick Room probably. Wow, well played by OK there. That was probably a perfect play. Terra normal, just to kill Scraggy, or what's... Oh, he's probably expecting a Moongeist beam, which doesn't make sense because Photon Guys are super effective. But you get the knockoff. I get you want to preserve Conch Elder, but still, and then you set up your own Trick Room. Maybe the first Trick Room was just because you wanted Trick Room up. It probably was. Drain Punch into Ursaluna is huge here, unless he protects. Floral Healing, okay. Drain Punch into Brute Bonnet, okay, that works well too. I think Ursaluna would have been smarter, but maybe you thought of Protect. I get that. I understand that, the logic. Draining Kiss from Comfey is a guaranteed kill on Brute Bonnet here. So, Floral Healing for 6% is crazy. What do you... I don't really understand that. Why would you not just Drain Punch Ursaluna and then kill Brute Bonnet with Comfey? I mean, maybe Comfey doesn't have Draining Kiss, but there's no reason to not run Draining Kiss Comfey. It's +3 priority. You're not in Psyche Train right now, because you didn't send out Igor and DD, you know? So, I think that would have been the right play. Fake out on Torkoal is pretty rough, because Torkoal probably just dies here. And once again, he's just not even thinking about the Ursaluna. Not many people can just ignore Ursaluna like that. To be fair, Ursaluna is now at half defense, so he will probably die in one Drain Punch. But just a interesting play. I mean, still a very kind of clean win for OK there. I think even though he won 2-0 pretty handily, he could have still made some better plays, but at the end of the day, doesn't really matter. You win 2-0. Good call out. I don't know why Scraggy wasn't Intimidate. That's really kind of the good part of Scraggy. He gets Intimidate, he gets coaching, he gets Fake Out, and he's slower than a lot of good mons like Ursaluna. The problem is you have Ursaluna, and your opponent has Conkeldurr, which is even slower than Scraggy. So Scraggy doesn't feel great here. I get you get a knockoff into Nala, and I get you get Fake Out still, but if you're not going to run Intimidate on it, I don't know what you're doing. He probably just forgot, honestly, because Intimidate makes sense when you are facing Roaring Moon and Conkeldurr. Just the two of them alone, there's no reason to not run Intimidate. I mean, what else are you going to run, Moxie or Shedskin? Maybe Shedskin, but again, you're the... Or not again, but you're the guy with the Brute Bonnet here, so... Not sure what the strategy was there, but either way, OK played great. I think, so I just want to review. I think there were this play of not Drain Punching Ursaluna, I kind of get. Even if you probably didn't predict the switch, but let's say you did. Or you probably just expected to protect on Ursaluna, which makes sense. But now that he hasn't protected, I think it's 100% you Draining Kiss into Brute Bonnet and Drain Punch Ursaluna here. I think that's 1,000% the play. Here again, you just go for you prioritize killing the Scraggy over the Ursaluna. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The only thought process I could see is you can't kill Ursaluna in one hit, so you go for the kill on Scraggy, so that you expect Ursaluna to Headlong Rush instead of to Earthquake here, and then you can now OHKO it. But even then, that logic doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I really don't think it matters much, so I'm just nitpicking at this point. Very well played by OK. And let's move on to the fourth matchup, and this might be the craziest matchup. I can't remember who wins, but I remember this being a crazy matchup. I helped SMB mock a little. I didn't really run mocks for my matchup, but I helped him a little. So let's see how it goes. This isn't what I mocked with. Koraidon, Fluttermane versus Landorus versus Ram. Okay, Koraidon gets intimidated, but he has the Clear Amulet, so that's good to know immediately he has Clear Amulet, and it's a smart item. Fluttermane and Koraidon are very strong as a duo. Terraflying Terra Blast, wow, Koraidon just dies instantly. No Protect, no Terra, nothing. He just dies. And I think it's pretty reasonable to expect that. And Zoroark has the sash and is able to get off a good bit of damage. Well, that's not as much damage as you might want, but you are attacking specially, and a Flutter Mane is 135 special defense, so somewhat reasonable. Just to protect on Zoroark. Landorus probably just dies here, and then Flutter Mane attacks and protect. So we don't know if it specs Flutter Mane or not. It was a lot of damage onto Landorus last turn, but he could just be strong. Grassy Glide is expected in Necrozma, but I don't think that's the right play. Yeah, I think that was a little predictable, and you could have just got a lot of damage off on Walking Wake, or Fake Out of Walking Wake, you know, so you were able to do something with Zoroark. Like you could have used your Bitter Malice into the Flutter Mane slot and Fake Outed Walking Wake. Now, the downside is if you're expecting like not a switch. I don't think that's a great play either. I think best play is probably just Grassy Glide or Wood Hammer or Draw Meteor, whatever you have, knock off onto Walking Wake, and just attack him because he's obviously a threat. And he's not actually great into your Rillaboom, so you can expect him to be attacking into your Zoroark, but I do get the logic of just wanting to get the Flutter Mane off the field. Flutter Mane's a problem, so I do get it. Flutter Mane's back on the field. Earth Power from Reshiram does a good chunk, but activates Weakness Policy, which is very nice. Wood Hammer does come out this turn, so we could have used it last turn, is what we learned. And now Photon Geyser is going to do a lot. Does that Oko? It does not, thankfully. That is really good for S&B. Puts him in a much better spot to close out this game in a 2v2 instead of a 1v2. It's still going to be very hard. You get outsped by Walking Wake, and you just die here. So Earth Power probably comes out onto Necrozma, is my guess, and picks up the kill. Yep, that makes sense. Reshiram should win this. No, Hydro Steam, it depends on how much it does. If it's a 2-hit kill. Wow, Flamethrower? He specs. So, Walking Wake is specs. That's good to confirm. That the Earth Power outcode anyways, so it wouldn't have mattered. But good information for S&B there. I mean, you learn that, first of all, you learn that Koraidon is not very willing to Terra, which is great for you. You just get a free kill on it, and Koraidon's a big threat. You learned that he likes switching. He switched a lot that game. You learned that Koraidon is Clear Amulet. You learned that Weakness Policy Necrozma. You learned that he specs on Walking Wake. So you know half his items already. You know he's not Speed boost on Flutter Mane. So there's a lot of good information you do learn here. I think Walking Wake could be Scarf maybe, but I don't think so. Based on that damage, I see it specs most of the time. And it is special attack booster, I believe. Yeah, it is special attack boosting Wake, so it just did a lot of damage that game. It does kind of make sense if it is specs. But it could be Scarf still. Good call. S&B up and feeling probably a little confident, but still nervous because this is still a very, very, very good team you're fighting. Landorus from Reshiram, so you could just probably Terra Flying and just Oko Koraidon here again, because unless he learns from last game, but I don't think he would because he's unwilling to Terra. Terra Fairy Reshiram and then a U-turn to Flutter Mane is a little questionable because now whoever's sending out Rillaboom is just opened a double up for just Dazzling Gleam, which makes sense, and then Koraidon's attack, which is Ice Fang, which is actually surprising. I like the coverage for Landorus, but Reshiram gets the kill. It would have been just so much easier to just Terra Landorus and kill Koraidon there, and then get Reshiram to use Blue Flare, whatever his move is, into Flutter Mane just to get a lot of damage off, especially because you're in Sun. Ooh, so this, you know that he switched into Zoroark very clearly here. And yeah, it's revealed anyways. But pretty good turn for Cromp. After you, Dazzling Gleam, just to get a lot of damage off and Landorus and kill Zoroark. I don't think that was needed, but I guess Landorus is probably scarfed, so I guess it makes sense. And you get a U-turn off, and you're able to switch, which is huge. Being able to Intimidate actually doesn't do anything here, but you're able to reset that move and use an actual attacking move better than U-turn here. Another after you, Dazzling Gleam, guaranteed kills Landorus. Reshram's able to probably get some damage off. Yeah, OHKO. That's nice to know that you can OHKO it pretty handily. In Sun, probably. I don't know if this is Spec Reshram. Probably is. But Sleep Powder Miss, it doesn't really matter. Walking away closes it out. So yeah, that was a pretty good game for Crump. I think he played that well. And there's just not... I think if you're SNB, you're learning that. I think it's pretty clear he doesn't care much about Koraidon. He Flutter Mane and Walking Wake are the centers of this team, offensively. So I would try and kill Koraidon early, because then he can't use him, and make sure you prioritize with Reshiram and with like Rillaboom, taking out these two problems. I think also Iron Valiant is good here. He's good into two of the biggest threats on this team, and he is not great into Flutter Mane, but it doesn't matter as much if you are booster energy and you can outspeed Flutter Mane, because he's special attacking. So if you decided to go for speed here in prep, then you know guaranteed, okay, even if you're max speed and I'm booster energy, I outspeed you. So I can get off a lot of damage on Flutter Mane, or just get an OHKO before I die. So I think that's something to consider for SNB in this game 3. Walking Wake Flutter Mane, just off rip, he doesn't even go for the Sun. He might switch into Koraidon here from someone. It's hard to say. Switching to Rillaboom, okay. I don't love switching Flutter Mane just because he does so much no matter what. Hydro Steam makes sense actually, but like I can see the logic of that switch. Now Rillaboom gets in and only takes half, which is solid. And Fusion Flare OHKOs is huge. That is great for SMB because Flutter Mane, one of the biggest problems on this team, is out. You have Walking Wake to deal with still. Rhydon could be a problem, but Walking Wake is your big threat. Use whatever Fairy type move you have. Okay. He switches out. Probably because, you know, he has to. But stacking Landorus is fine here, just because you couldn't Intimidate anyways. Intimidate kind of does nothing against this team. He just Prism, sorry, not my body, but still. Just good play overall by Cromp. That's not what you can do there. A double switch, okay. Guardians the Dragon move into Reshiram, that's huge. Flare Blitz, that's not great for SMB, because now one of your best attackers is 2%. But kill on Koraidon. I hope Zekrom is able to pick up a kill on Walking Wake here before dying. He probably is going to decay with the Dragon Pulse as well again, picks up a kill on Reshiram, but a switch, okay. Sleep Powder is great for SMB, sorry. And then Mudshot is interesting, but either way, Reshiram dies. So it's now Zekrom and Rillaboom versus Walking Wake and Lilligant. Not a great endgame for SMB, especially with the Terrifier. Ooh. Fake Out is nice, and you can probably kill here if you go for Fusion Bolt. It should OHKO, maybe. Zekrom's pretty strong. It does OHKO. Okay, so this should be a win, right? Unless Lilligant is able to somehow out-damage both of them. Fusion Bolt does have... Okay, this is just a win for SMB. Wow. You can probably pick up the kill on Rillaboom. Oh, no. Sun's gone. So it's speed tie if he's max speed, but picks up a kill on Rillaboom, but still GG's. Wow. I had forgotten that SMB won that. But very well played on both sides. That was a very intense matchup. Wow, I think if we look at game one, it felt like a kind of an uncomfortable win for S&B. I mean, you won, but you saw the damage Walking Wake and Fluttermane could do. You learned a lot of information though, which is huge for the next two games, and you're up a game. So you're in a great spot to win the next two games. But it's hard. Because you're even though you're up against like even though you're up a game, you're up against really tough opponents. And then we see game two is won in a pretty dominant fashion. Walking Wake is untouched this game, and he's a real problem. So Fluttermane was able to put in a lot of work. Walking Wake was able to put in a ton of work this game. So you're after game two, you're very scared, and so to be able to play game three and play it well and to win with your Zekrom intact, I think that was a very very well played by S&B and Cromp too. I think that was just one of. This is why I love I love this league. We're able to have such kind of balanced teams. We're able to have such good matches. If this match is like says anything about the rest of the season, then I'm looking forward to it. I love matches where the loser still plays incredibly well, and so it's not like you lost, but you didn't play poorly, so you can still like feel like it was a win, or you feel like you played well. You don't have to beat yourself up over it, and I love those kind of matches. So I thought that this was a great set, and yeah. Let's move on to this next set, which I have not watched at all. I don't even know who won this. This was Truckle Oven versus Bosie. Actually, I did watch this one. Yeah, because I saw that Tornadus was on this team. So, in case you didn't realize, just by looking here, Tornadus is on Truckle Oven's team, not on Bosie's team. Bosie, they say that the way they build their teams is by having their team and their opponent's team on screen, like kind of top and bottom. Unfortunately for them, when they do it like that, it can look like the opponent's team might be part of your team, and just like it looks like one really, really big team. And so that's why he decided to bring Tornadus, because he thought Tornadus was a pretty good Mon, pretty good Mon, part of his team. Could work pretty well here. Tornadus is not part of his team, so he brought it. But because he's not part of his team, obviously, I told him, yeah, you can't bring it. Or he also just kind of understood, yeah, I can't bring him into this match because he's not mine. So really, it's a 5v6. They still obviously both bring 4 Mons, so it's only a 4v4. But you have to understand that information is everything in Pokemon. And if you guaranteed can't use this Mon, which you counted on as being the center support piece of your team. If you look, Zapdos probably has Tailwind, Ambipom definitely has Fake Out. But otherwise, there's kind of not a whole lot of support on this team. So Tornadus was built to be part of the core of this team for Bosie, versus a pretty tough team from Charcoal. I think Charcoal has a great team. And Bosie does too, but if you're building around a Mon you don't have, it sets you up for failure. So I think this is going to be a very, very hard matchup. You can see here. He said, "Why do you have my Mon?" I said, "Change it out." And then he said, "I just won't bring it." So that was a good solution. But it really put Bosie on the back foot before the match even starts, which is terrible for him. Cali Dead and Substitute are funny names, and like the names all around here. Protect, probably because you're getting a triple axle, if not also a free stride or something along those lines from Karen White. Dragon Dance, wow. He's a special attacker going for Dragon Dance. That's interesting. And the triple axle is protected, which is nice. So gets some good damage off, and probably just gets a kill on... Oh! Goes for Kieran White instead. I guess that makes sense. But personally, I don't like Ambipom, so I would target Ambipom. I get it, though. Takes a lot of damage, but now that you know he's dead, you can probably just Bleak Wind and make the same exact play, actually. Bleak Wind in close combat into the Kyurem, which, even though he gets the speed drop, wouldn't have mattered anyways. So, now if you're Charcoal, you're in a great spot. You have one of his mons at 30. You've killed one of his biggest threats, and, I mean, the no fake out here makes sense, honestly, because you're expecting a Protect there. Maybe a fake out into Tornadus. But Sunny Day is a little weird. I get you want to activate Photosynthesis, but wasn't it already activated? It was from Booster Energy. So I guess you want to make Hurricane less accurate, I guess, if that was the thought process. Ooh, that's really rough for Bosi. The miss, the 90% accurate move missing, puts him in just a really terrible spot. And now, you do get off some damage. You're not completely lost, but you get outsped. So whoever his partner is, or Shifu, yeah, okay. So he probably gets Training Kissed here, I would imagine, and then Extreme Speed picks up the kill. Okay, so very kind of easy win in the end game for Charcoal. That Sunny Day kind of makes no sense to me because you didn't bring Raging Bolt, obviously. You have Entei, so I guess you want to make Entei stronger. And you already had Photosynthesis activated. So it feels like it was to counter the Hurricane on Zapdos, but that's not a great use of Tornadus' move. Maybe because he didn't have anything better to do. But yeah, it was interesting. So I'm not sure, but either way, Bosi kind of playing on the back foot that whole game. And very clean win for Charcoal. You can see 2 months at full health, so that's a great win for him. Or feels like a great win at minimum. You feel pretty confident going into game 2, and then you have Calyrex and discount Clefable here. So maybe a fake out into Clefable, maybe probably just a triple axle into Cali Shadow, right? And then he dies. Oh no, you followed me. Never mind, I forgot about that. Obviously. Knockoff, you probably just wanted to knock off Cali Shadow in case he didn't protect, which or he didn't follow me, which makes sense. A double switch here is interesting. Another follow me kind of makes sense. And you just go for the same exact play. I wouldn't typically recommend doing that in most turns, just going for the same play. A Nasty Plot last turn would have been huge now that you reveal that you have it. But you take quite a bit from Zapdos here, probably. And because Zapdos does have Hurricane, you can assume the Sunny Day was to make that 20% less accurate. Astral Barrage is, wow, not a crazy amount. Thankfully, it is resisted by King Gambit, but still, that doesn't do a lot. And then you just die instantly. Alright, so it's pretty unfortunate. You now have a 4v1, so you pick up a kill, but Raging Bolt is doomed. And wow, Heat Wave was nothing. But you probably have Kyurem right in the back, or Triple Axle, yeah. Triple Axle picks up the kill pretty easily. And now Bosi's feeling a little more confident, probably, even though you have Tornadus you can't bring. I think Charcoal's team has a better matchup still. Especially without that support mod from Addis. But we'll see. Tailwind, and probably just a close combat into Urshifu. Okay, Urshifu makes sense. And you got kill, and probably you sack one of your 2 Pokemon. So you sack Tornadus, that's fine. That's probably a worthwhile trade. You get up Tailwind and you kill one of his strongest mons. I'd probably take that trade any day. And probably close combat into the Ampy here, who seems like he's Scarf, honestly. I guess not, actually. Never mind. He might be. Either way. Ooh, that's a really rough Hurricane miss. That would have been a no-good for sure. And it would have been a 2v2, which is much easier. Astral Barrage probably coming out from Shadow, and then a CC into King Gambit. And Great Tusk looks like the king of the world here, even though he's at 0.4 times both defenses, -3 on both, and yeah, he does die to a Hurricane. I think this match would have been much closer, but still a win for Charcoal, if he had been able to do that. So pretty clean win game 3 as well for Charcoal. Just really commanding start to that game, killing Urshifu, then being able to kill Ambipom as well when Ambipom is just a problem. So very nice play by Charcoal. I think he played well. I don't think Bosi played particularly poorly, especially game 2. He played very well. Just playing on the back foot that much is really rough. And it really bites when you can't use them on. You build your team around. I think it was pretty unfortunate for Bosi there, but again, live and learn. Moving on to Amlodude versus Screwbite. Let's see. Amlodude has an extremely unique team over here, and Screwbite with his Yugulus semi-rain team, and Clear Amulet Palafin off-rip is good to know that he's not choice banned. He switches out hard, which is fine. Probably okay, Fake Out makes sense, and probably Tailwind. Probably Fake Out to stop the flip turn, which he just doesn't even go for. So the switch is very smart by Amlodude there. The power puts up a lot of damage, but nothing crazy. This is a 100% kill. Yep. 4 times super effective, especially backup. He's just dead. And now you weaken his Stealga. So the Earth Power that comes out, or actually the Dragon Pulse that comes out, doesn't do a lot. Earth Power would have been better there, but it's okay. Snarl to make Dialga even weaker, and Electabuzz goes for an Electroweb to make him slower, but there's already a Tailwind up, so I don't think that really does a whole lot. And then Haze is great there. If you had used Thunderbolt from Electabuzz, maybe would have picked up the kill of Palafin. That would have been better. But if not, then I'm not sure what you do there. 2 protects, and probably just a Sacred Sword to kill, right? Or no, you switched in, sorry. Now a Sacred Sword probably makes sense here. Terra Flying, I don't fully understand. Probably just an Earth Power. Yeah, to block Earth Power. That's smart. If you're Sword Stancing it, you need to do that, pretty much. And Electroweb, because he had already hazed, so you want to make him slower. But unfortunately for you, Palafin, again, does not care about that because he has Jet Punch and Clear Amulet, so really doesn't affect him at all. Lives on 2%, which is huge. Sacred Sword picks up the kill, probably. Yep, definitely on Dialga. And now it is a 2v4, and you're on the back foot for sure. He is very set up, Zacian. And you're able to kill Electabuzz, but Zacian is able to survive that Sludge Bomb. And he kills Landorus. He doesn't go for Palafin. I guess it makes sense because you outspeed Palafin. But you do die to a Jet Punch here. Oh, unless you get full paired. So that's really rough for Amlodude. Very rough game 1, actually. Pretty well played on both ends, even though Amlodude did lose. He showed a lot of competence there. The hard switch, turn 1 was very good. Dialga was played well overall. Though you can't help but think your team is a little lackluster just after this matchup. No band on Palafin makes him a little weaker, especially that Jet Punch. But you still get up a good bit of damage, which is nice to know. If you hit neutral with Jet Punch, you do like a quarter dosation, which is pretty nice. Then just being able to use Haze, like that was a great play. I think speed control is going to be big in the rest of this match. And yeah, it was pretty well played there on both ends, even though Amlodude did lose pretty heavily. Lead of Palafin makes sense. You want to lead Palafin and switch him out as often as possible. Zation and Electabuzz. Good duo. Probably follow me Word Stance, I would reckon. And then a U-turn instead of a Sansir Storm. That's interesting. Sansir Storm would have been great there. But no, it is just a follow me Sword Stance. And he switches both. He has Palafin in the back now, but unfortunate. Does protect to block the Sacred Sword. Follow me to take the Sacred Fire, which is smart. Because Sacred Fire is unfortunate. Especially for Station, you don't want to be burned. Now you're in a spot where you probably have to target Dialga again, and Sacred Fire is probably coming out in Zation, so follow me makes more sense. You don't Oko either, so if you get the burn, you're in a bad spot. Ooh, yeah, you're in a bad spot now. And Dragon Pulse picks up the kill, so follow me was 100% the play, but I like the Blitz there. Even if Dragon Pulse probably wouldn't have killed if not for that damage, right? Yeah, he would have 100% not okay. So, Electro Web, but he lives at 1 is really, really rough. Dragon Pulse means you die, and now it's suddenly a 4v2. You're completely on the back foot. You have Tailwind up, sure, but he can just protect your fake out. So, you're in a much worse spot. He's probably going to go for Snarl because he wanted the double kill, but yeah, fake out there, then go for Snarl, which is bad. Because you don't get much damage at all from the Palafin. He doesn't get the protect again. You're probably just going to Snarl again, right? You take a lot of damage, unfortunately. So probably want to knock off. Maybe into the Palafin. Probably pick up the kill. Nope, not even the kill. So, if you're screwed by everything's going wrong this game, you're probably going to lose. You got to learn from next game. So, does he go for Snarl again? Probably. Even though it's probably not the play, but I mean, what else are you gonna do? Can't really blame him. Now it's a 2v1, and you're very much on the back foot. Sludge Bomb does a good bit. Meteor Beam means you kill one of these two. Yep, you kill. Hello. I would have liked to see Meteor Beam onto Landorus just to see how much it did. It's okay. Dark Pulse doesn't matter because you're slower because you Scarf. I think that wasn't guaranteed to be lost. What health was he at? He was at full health at the start of this turn. You take 52%. As long as Sacred Fire doesn't do 52%, you can if you Oko with Landorus. Or with a Meteor Beam onto Landorus, which you could, then that's a much better situation because you have a 20% chance to flip with Dark Pulse onto Ho-Oh. Still probably losing, so it doesn't matter too much, but you do end up losing. Unfortunate. If you're Screwbite, you have to be a little bit proud of how you clawed back that game. But you're now tied 1-1 instead of being up 1-0, so much worse spot to be in. And let's watch this game 3. All right, going hard rain here, but your opponent does have Palafin, so probably a flip turn here is what I'm expecting. Or a jet punch. You're just staying in and jet punching. Interesting. U-turn. All right. Send out Dialga, who is fine with the rain. And you get up a Tailwind, but at what cost? Politoed just protected for no reason. That's a little rough. And you send out Zation in front of both these guys. He's probably going to take a jet punch to the face. Yeah, 32% is not great. Weather Ball does nothing. Wow, I don't know really what the thought process was with Weather Ball. And you just died Earth Power. So he read that book, or read that prediction like a book. That was very, very rough for Screwbite. And now you're in a terrible spot. Zation was your MVP of every game. And Jugulus probably doesn't have the power to single-handedly win you this game. So, the Encore into the Protect is a little rough. Because you're not Encoring into Protect, you're just wasting a turn. Both of us did nothing in this game, pretty much. So Amuledude's smart to just not go for it at all. He gets a helping hand off, but he's probably gonna just like Electro Web. Yeah, does no damage at all. So if you're Amuledude, this is just a win. Very unfortunate for Screwbite, but you just had too many support mons and played a little too passively. And there's this issue again of just switching into your powerful mons, hard switching them in. You need to wait for someone to die. Like Electabuzz could have easily died here to that Dragon Pulse, and once he dies, then you send out Jugulus, and you're in a better spot. But if you just hard switch him in, he just dies, and now you're in a really bad spot. So, good on Screwbite for not forfeiting, because that's banned. You know, we have to track the kills and deaths of mons, and Polytoad lives at 1%, which is the only useful thing he does all game. So, yeah, that was by far the most dominant game. As you can see, he took, wow, less than 50% total. Or, sorry, I can't do math. 61% total across his entire team, which is really, really rough for Screwbite. We saw Polytoad's entire moveset, and yet he still felt pretty useless here. I think it was probably just as a support for Zacian and as rain for Jugulus to use Hurricane, but it felt like he was just extremely useless. Electabuzz in all three matches felt a little lackluster. Any move other than Electro would have been nice. He had Follow Me too, but then he just protected. If he had another attacking move, like just Thunderbolt would have been nice to see. He didn't go for it at all, unfortunately. And he's in a worse spot for sure. Let's move on to our final matchup before we talk about the Elysium and Fields of Punishment, which is the best part of this whole process. Let's take a look at, neither of these people are their actual names. We have It's Just Me versus Voids. I should have been able to tell from their teams. But let's get into it. I think they're very easy. It was very easy to tell the synergy on these teams. I mean, Calyrex Ice plus Ogerpon Corner plus Iron Hands plus Talonflame is crazy. When Goldengo's the worst mon out of your 6, you know you have a good team. Palkia is also pretty good, second restricted to have. I like him a lot. Groudon and Sableye is a good combo. He doesn't actually bring Sableye here, but he does bring Chi-Yu and Arcanine, who are both very strong. Clefairy is his support mon of choice, plus Cresselia. So both pretty good support mons. And Venusaur comes out with Chlorophyll. So yeah, a lot of potential for both these teams. I'm curious to see how it turns out, because on some hands you feel like, okay, this is a very pretty easy matchup. We have Sun into his best mon being Calyrex, and then he also brought Cornerstone and Goldengo, so half his team is weak to fire. Plus you have 1, 2, 3 ground weaknesses as well. You feel like you're in a good spot right now, or I would at least. And you have a lot of offensive power, but at the end of the day, speed control matters, damage matters, and redirection. And he has redirection and you don't. Or you do actually with Clefairy, but how you use the redirection, I guess. Intimidate is on Arcanine, not Ked. He's definitely viable with both, so curious to see that. A hard switch into Groudon off Rip is interesting. No Tailwind is unique. I would have for sure expected Tailwind there. And Follow Me into Hydro Pump is good. So you actually do learn a lot here. If It's Just Me, it's not a great turn exactly, but it's not a bad turn. Hard switch into Chi-Yu again. But Rain Dance comes out, and wow, that is a really, really rough spot to be in. You lose your best Mon and one of your best Mons, and your Sunsetter, and your Rain is up. And you're definitely a Sun team, so this is not a good spot to be in. Helping Hand on Shiyu. If he takes a Brave Bird, that's rough, but thankfully it goes to the Clefairy. Terra Blast into Palkia, but he lives. Ooh. Palkia is able to pick up the kill on Clefairy. So now you're 100% on the back foot here. If you're Arcanine, you're not liking the fact that Rain is up with Hydro Pump. So Palkia does protect. Kind of makes sense. But Shiyu takes a big Brave Bird here. Arcanine better go for a Rock move and a Talonflame. Or that works too, never mind. And then is this Rock Slide or it's Snarl? Okay. Snarl Arcanine I do like running. Even though he's very weak special attacker, it's just fun move to run. Tech from Chiyo. If it's a Drain Punch, that's rough, but if it's a Fake Out, that's great. Perfect. So oh, you get outsped. The outspeed on Palkia is real rough, and now that's just 100% of the game. So you do pick up the kill on the Palkia, who was at 2%. And I believe he went 4 for 4 on Hydro Pumps, which is luck I can only wish to have. But still, it was, even with one miss, it would have been great for Voids. If you missed the one on Groudon early, then that would have been really rough. But yeah, I've had a Talonflame in a Mono Ice team once, and he ran Snowscape, which I don't know if he gets Snowscape. But either way, I ran Rain Dance on him once against a Sun team, against a I don't know if it was a Grass team that ran Sun or a Fire team, but either way, just being able to have Rain Dance on Talonflame is huge. Is the point of that story. And he showed his value here without even using Tailwind. So very, very rough game 1 for It's Just Me, but it wasn't horrible. You can definitely adapt for game 2. So let's see what that adaptation is. Leading Groudon off start is probably not the best way to adapt because he did just show he has Talonflame with Rain Dance. No Talonflame lead is good. Heat Crash and Calyrex would make sense. He has Terra Dragon, so it wouldn't be super effective, but a switch is interesting. I might have expected a Sleep Powder into Calyrex. I think that would have made a lot of sense, especially for a Wide Lens, which you probably should be, or you have a good chance of being. And a Fake Out, so Trick Room comes out, and you just wasted your Terra. Calyrex did as well, but it was a smart Terra. You would have Terra Fired anyways, I guess, next turn, but take a little bit of damage. You actually don't take a whole lot of damage, which is nice. And you connect on both of Precious Blades, that's huge. If you're not in a terrible spot, It's Just Me, you get a good bit of damage off of Moonblast. You do take a lot of damage here, probably, with Glacier. Oh, a high horsepower, I forgot about that. That's just yep, he goes for it, and that was a great play. I think that was the play. Maybe another move to Clefairy if you think you're gonna kill, guaranteed with high horsepower, but can't blame you for Drain Punching. Follow me, but he's going to Glacier Lane, probably, yeah. So he gets off a lot of damage. A Drain Punch into Chiyu would secure. Oh, he's following me. Sorry, I forgot about that. And then probably Heat Wave, yeah. The miss is a little rough, but you don't kill Calyrex anyways. So not a fun spot to be in. You have Chlorophyll in Trick Room, or Chlorophyll in Sun in Trick Room, meaning you outspeed, which is not fun. And you would just die here very easily, but you protect. You sack your Chiyu, which I don't think had Protect. If we look back at last game, he did have Protect. He should have gone for Protect there. But it's okay. Venusaur only has Earth Power, which doesn't even kill. I think you have to for sure prioritize killing Calyrex over Iron Hands. I know Iron Hands is scary. He has Ice Punch. But Calyrex was at ×2 attack and has a stab move. Not that it matters because you were down 4-1. But it's a pretty rough game for It's Just Me. I don't think you adapted a whole lot after game 1. but you also just didn't have the damage. Getting damage off is huge, obviously, in Pokemon. I mean, that's how you win, is just by dealing damage. So yeah, let's move to our let's move to the results. You can see here that we have a pretty clear picture of how things went. Thankfully, we did have only 3 2-0s and 4 2-1s, so it was actually a much closer week. And those 2-0s were closer than they looked for the most part. Like we just saw, it's just me's game 1 was pretty close. My game 2 was very close. OK and TBL were very close throughout. You wouldn't have thought that was a 2-0. So those are the results from the week. Void's in first right now. If we want to look at the MVP standing, sorry, it's page is not loading. But here are the standings overall. Let me just help you guys out. So here are the standings. You can see that Voids is in first. I'm in second. OK is third. Amladude, Eternum, Shark11, and SMB. Pretty tight overall, just because, as I said, all the matches were pretty close. So we only have me and Voids with a pretty significant kill differential at this point. And Trippian, it's just me at pretty significantly low ones, but otherwise everyone is still in pretty even. I think there were a lot of really good matchups this week. If this says anything for the rest of the season, then I'm excited. I think we're really going to have a lot of good matchups. And it becomes a question of are we like who is the Elysium? Let's take a look quickly as well at our top 15 mons right now. So we can see that Walking Wake was obviously, from that matchup, a monster. Reshiram with, I believe, Specs was incredibly strong as well. We just have a lot of powerful mons here. Mons you might expect. And then you have things like Conkeldurr, which you would never expect to be on the MVP slot. You have things like Sneasler, which aren't expected, Ambipom. It's only week 1, so it's obviously way more biased and less accurate. But I think there are a lot of mons here that I could see staying. I could see Walking Wake staying here for a while. Shen Pao could stay. Iron Hands could stay. Calyrex Shadow for sure. So I think pretty good week overall. Thinking about Elysium and Fields of Punishment. Let's move back to our standings. I think there's sorry, let's move back to our matches. I think there are a lot of contenders for Elysium. I am kind of leaning SNB for Elysium just because he played so well. It was a very intense set, but he made a lot of good plays. There were only a handful of turns and a lot of game 2 where I felt like he played somewhat poorly. But overall, he played very well, and that's admirable, especially against such a tough team. I don't think Crump played poorly at all, and that's part of the reason why I'm leaning him. He didn't 2-0 sweep dominate at all by any means, but he beat an incredibly tough opponent who played very well by just playing even better. And it wasn't like his team was significantly better either, or better. You might say his team was worse, honestly. But he was able to win and to win in a pretty cool fashion. So I think for week 1 we're going to give Elysium to S&B. I do feel a little bad because Voids had a pretty dominant games. You could see that he had 2 months left, one at full, and one at 85. And then his game two, he had 2 months barely alive and two in the back. But I feel like he was very prepared for his opponent, and he hit every hydro pump, and his opponent played a little poorly. So that's why I'm less willing to give it to Voids. I'm sorry, Voids. But SMB played great. I think when you look at Fluttermane and Walking Wake, who Walking Wake is the kill leader right now after this set, and you were able to beat the kill leader, which he got the kills from beating you, or from killing you, but still the fact you had such threatening opponents, and an opponent who played very well, and you were able to win. Congrats, SMB. You get our first Elysium. Moving on to Fields of Punishment. There are a few contenders. There's definitely It's Just Me, who lost pretty handily in both matches. You could say, where is he? You could say Screwbite for just like being too passive. I think Polytoad could single-handedly get Fields of Punishment, not Screwbite, just Polytoad. And who else was I going to say? It was sorry. Yeah. I think even though we did have a pretty commanding loss, pretty devastating loss from It's Just Me, and even though we had Screwbite play incredibly passively to his own downfall into a loss, especially with Polytoad just doing, and Electabuzz doing almost nothing, but Polytoad doing absolutely nothing that set. I think there's no fault worse than where is it again? I lost it again. Then bringing your opponent's Pokemon. You were able to get a nice win in there, and I think you did pretty well during that win. You see, you have 3 months alive. You played pretty well overall, but game 1 and game 3 were pretty commanding losses. I really think that bringing Tornadus and building your team around him when he isn't your mon is rough. But even worse is probably the fact that you just kind of let him destroy. I don't think Truck11 played spectacularly. I think he played pretty well. I think Boasty played pretty well overall, but I'm going to give the first Fields of Punishment to Boasty for bringing Tornadus, and for, even though he did win a game, the pretty brutal losses in the other 2 games. So, yeah. Without further ado, those are our Elysium winners and Fields of Punishment losers. So thank you for tuning into the stream. It went pretty well. Just watching these matches. I think that I am extremely excited for how this turns out. We can see our standings one more time. But this is going to be a great season. I'm really looking forward to playing out the rest of the season. Hopefully I stay towards the top, but more than anything, I just want us to be able to watch good matches. So I'll be trying to make more entertaining matches for everyone. I hope you guys will continue to watch these weekly reviews, and see how intense and how fun our league is. And also, I want you to understand that even with things like Fields of Punishment, and even with me critiquing all these teams, it's all love. This is a draft league meant for people who are not extremely competitive, and for people who aren't like intense draft league players. So if you are, let's say It's Just Me, and you went, you lost 0-2, and you're the bottom of the leaderboard right now, I wouldn't beat yourself up. And if you're Boasty and you got Field of Punishment wouldn't beat yourself up. I think this was a great week and a lot of great matchups. So I think everyone's still in the running. It's obviously week 1. Anything could happen. I could be last in the league by the end of the season. So we don't know what's going to happen, but I'm really looking forward to it. We saw a lot of strong contenders, even especially from the losers, like Nick and Cromp especially. I thought played really well. Screwbite played really well for the most part. But I think it's gonna be a fun season. So, yeah, that's about it. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys.